Hello, welcome to the Sideboard here at the StarCityGames.com Modern Open in Louisville, part of the SCG Tour, brought to you by Ultimate Guard. I'm Nick Miller alongside Todd Stevens, one of the SCG Tour's top modern performers. And you just don't stop with the green-white decks.
No.
They just have iteration after iteration, and now we've got the next evolution, no pun intended here, or
That's how we did
possibly intended. I'll take either way. With this green-white evolution deck, which you've been, the mayor of Value Town for a while, and you've kind of put that deck aside to go this step with the same base, but you're just going off the deep end now.
Yeah, basically. Maybe too far, who knows, but so one problem that Green White Value Town had was Storm and Valakut. That's not one problem, but anyway, moving on, multiple problems. So yeah, some of like the faster combo decks. And so what I'm trying to use here is Eldritch Evolution to help me find bullets that can help in those matchups. One thing you can see in my main deck, I have an Eidolon of Rhetoric in my main deck to really make sure I can help win those different combo matchups.
Right, the previous builds you've had of this deck or this style of deck have just been focused purely on value and just out-grinding your opponents with Collected Company and just hit after hit after hit. This deck is more focused on doing specific things rather than just flooding the board and out-grinding them, right?
Yeah, no, that's actually, that's perfect. Like before I'd have like 4 Voice Resurgence and 4 Courser Crewfix because I wanted just to out-grind everybody with, and this deck's honestly not as good at grinding out opponents, and I struggle a little more against like your Abzan and Jund and Grixis Death Shadow type decks because I don't have like the raw card quality. But yeah, so I'm going for more of a, like a
bulleted style.
Yeah, more bulleted style, like more precise, trying to attack decks precisely instead of just outvaluing everybody.
Right. What you lack for in the grind matchup, you make up for in these other matchups that are, I think, growing in popularity too. When you talk about Storm and Valakut decks, these are decks that are on the upswing right now.
Right.
And you want to be situated to fight those as opposed to the Grixis Shadows that are kind of on the downswing.
Right, and it's not like I can't beat any of the, it's not like I can't outgrind people too, Collected Company is still a heck of a card. It's not necessarily as good in my deck because if you don't count the 8 1-drops as like a hit, for example, I think I only have, doing a little math here, I think 18 good hits off Company, so it's not a lot. So I've actually shaved 1 Collected Company because there's just so many times where I'd hit 1 creature with it.
And a mana creature, so you're just kind of coming up short there.
Yeah.
That said, you still have the possibility of landing Azusa and Ramunat Excavator plus Ghost Quarter to just still live the dream.
Yep, and so Evolution helps that. So like if I maybe Company into one of those cards, like maybe I hit like Excavator or I have like an Excavator in my hand, I can turn one of my mana creatures into an Azusa and then just go off from there. Having 8 mana creatures with Eldritch Evolution is really nice, and so that's why I basically am playing only like 1s and 3s for the most parts, because I want to turn the mana creatures that are usually just dead cards in the late game into real threats.
Right, this deck definitely takes a different angle, and you have a lot of cool cards floating around here that your other build didn't have. So we'll go over those, because you still have got Knight of the Reliquary, and you've got Courser Crewfix, kind of the backbone of your previous deck.
Right.
Now you have more bullets along with Kitchen Finks, which combos great with Evolution, and I think we'll have to bring up Archangel of Thune alongside Spike Feeder, one of the other 3s that you want to be hitting.
Yeah, and so now I actually kind of have like a combo kill, I guess, with the Spike Feeder Archangel of Thune. I can gain infinite life with that. I didn't really have anything like that. So I always have, like if I have Spike Feeder on the battlefield, it's always looming that if I draw an Evolution, I can turn any 3-drop. Evolution is also pretty nice with Azusa, because Azusa is pretty bad with basically anything that's not Ramunap or Courser. Like if I don't have those 2 cards, I only have 3 total copies of Excavator and Courser, so if I don't have one of those 3 cards out, Azusa just doesn't really do anything. But now I have Evolution to be able to have it go away. Honestly, it may be better if I cut Azusa and cut Nissa Vastwood Seer from the deck and just play more Excavators and Coursers, more cards, because Excavator and Courser are so powerful on their own. But I've really enjoyed just having all the different bullets for me to be able to find depending on the situation.
Right, Nissa Vastwood Seer, an all-star back in the standard format.
Yeah.
That card was everywhere. Here you just get to do the same thing. I don't know how often you get 7 lands in Modern, but you might be flipping it occasionally.
Yeah, you can transform it every once in a while. Nissa Vastwood Seer is basically, it's probably my favorite card. It's probably everybody's favorite card, right? Everybody absolutely loves this card, and it's just so much fun. And so, it's Borderland Ranger that turns into a Planeswalker. Sure, there's it gets sideboarded out a lot. You know, like if you're not playing against a mid-range or control deck, it goes out. But I honestly have a pretty tough matchup against like blue-white control, for example, because when you're playing a bunch of creatures and they have Supreme Verdicts, like that's not a good time for you. But Nissa Vastwood Seer is a house in that matchup. So
might be yours and everyone else's favorite creature, but mine is the other 2-drop Voice Resurgence you got hanging out in this deck.
Yeah.
I like playing that card.
Yeah, that's an amazing one too. It works really well playing Voice on 2, Evolution on 3. Sure, I don't have any 4-drops to Evolution into, but still being able to find, Courser, Knight, Tracker, whatever.
Any
whatever
of your bullet 3-drops in those matchups where Voice often isn't very good, Storm, stuff like that. You can find one of your hate bears, and then you still got a body to beat with later on.
Right.
So we mentioned the Eidolon. We've got Eternal Witness to rebuy any of the things you need to get again. You also have Tireless Tracker, just kind of another one of your grind cards.
Yeah, I should probably have another Tireless Tracker in the deck. It's just so good. It's such a good card. I should probably, I don't know, it's hard to build this deck, Like there's just, the options there's just so many options. So tuning the exact right green-white deck is so hard. Because I've been playing this deck basically all week nonstop, and it's still, I'm not even sure if I'm there yet.
Kind of the reason that Pod is no longer here. There's just so many creatures you can do that.
Yep.
So you build this deck, and yes, all those creatures still exist,
yeah.
and you can still do whatever basically you want in this shell.
Yeah.
You also got Mind Sensor here to combo to shut down Valakut, things like that. And then, Collected Company, as we mentioned before, still the same engine. Yeah. Just a different payoff.
Yeah, Mind Sensor there is also one of my key cards against Storm, because whenever they cast Gifts Ungiven, they're searching their library. And so if you can flash in a Mind Sensor in response, or if you just have a Mind Sensor out, a lot of Storm decks don't really have very much interaction, maybe just Grape Shot in the main deck. So they don't have that. They tried casting Gifts. They get to look at their top 4, and they all have to be different names. So twice in Richmond, twice my Storm opponent played it, and they could only reveal 3 cards because 2 of them were lands with the same name. And I was like, well, put the 2 cards in your graveyard. You can take that 1 land. Go ahead. Nice gifts. You got a land.
Yeah, just waiting for the ultimate unlucky story from you where they land all 4 cards they need.
Yeah. Oh no. That's
looming somewhere in this tournament.
It's gonna happen.
So we'll move on to the sideboard here. We have some more bullets. You got a Rex Sage, another Eidolon, another Mind Sensor, Kataki, then Linvala here. Can't hit it with company, but very good to court into in the matchups where you want this card.
Oh yeah, against any other green creature deck, basically. Anything else with mana creatures, you need Linvala. It's just so important to have. So Linvala is just an amazing card.
Once we go from there, we kind of have your modern hate cards du jour. Here we got to talk about 2 copies. Gideon's Intervention. This is a new one popping up. I've seen people write about in the last couple of weeks. Runed Halo / Nevermore / whatever other cards that do the same thing.
Yeah. I didn't even realize that this was a card until a couple weeks ago. I wish I would have known about it a little earlier, but it's absolutely perfect against Valakut, because you can just name Valakut the Molten Pinnacle, and it not only prevents the damage to you, but also prevents all the damage to your creatures. See, before I'd maybe have Leyline of Sanctity or stuff like that would protect you, which is nice, but if Valakut can just kill your creatures over and over again, you can't keep up with Primeval Titans that will eventually kill you.
Sure.
If your creatures are just always dead, you can't kill them. So Gideon's Intervention is a perfect way. I've played Mark of Asylum in the past, just to prevent all the damage to my creatures, so they couldn't, anger the gods or anything to my creatures. It's kind of a mix of those, and it's also good in other matchups that could be difficult, like just name Ad Nauseam. They can't cast Ad Nauseam against Blue-Eye Control or some of those control decks with Cryptic Command. If you just naming Cryptic Command's a big deal. I would like to name Supreme Verdict, but then they just bounce with Cryptic Command. But still, name Cryptic Command's big there. Say Living End, very nice. There's a bunch of just kind of random things. I've honestly been happy with it against Grixis Death Shadow also, because I can't really outgrind them like I could before, and I have a lot of cards that are not very good against Grixis Death Shadow. Just playing that, it's the kind of thing they can easily Stubborn Denial or Thoughtseize away, but if you draw it later and you can play and just name Death Shadow, that takes away half of their win conditions. Basically, They usually just play 4 Shadow and then 2 Tasker, 2 Gurmag Angler, and so then you only have to deal with the Taskers and Gurmag Anglers from there.
Once you shut down their main kill condition, you can handle the rest of the cards.
Right.
And you got 2 EE, you got 2 Stony Silence, 2 Surgical. These are just graveyard hate, affinity hate.
Yeah. Explosives and Surgical, I tried cutting down for other things, and I've just had to put them back in. Dredge has been popping up more online, and also just against Storm. Surgical is just real necessary against both of those decks. I also like it against Blue-White Control to take away either Cryptics or Supreme Verdicts. Like, they can Supreme Verdict the one time, but not over and over again. And then kind of the same thing with Explosives. More, Merfolk, you need it there. Elves, you need it.
Hexproof.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. So I've tried trimming on those for more like bullets and stuff, but they're just so good at the matches that you need them. So
can't get away from them.
Right.
Then you got Elspeth, Sun's Champion, and Sigarda here rounding out your sideboard. Sigarda is just an all-star in the matchups with Liliana, things like that.
Yep, and Sigarda is mostly for Eldrazi-Tron, because All is Dust is such a problem. So if you play, you can't sacrifice your permanents to All is Dust, so that's perfect. And Elspeth, Sun's Champion, that was a slot that used to be Whisperwood Elemental, but Elspeth is just such a more impactful card, and the minus is just amazing against Death Shadow or Eldrazi-Tron, and the plus is just the best in any kind of mid-range matchup. Blue-White Control can't deal with it. It's just the best card.
Okay. So which version of this deck is your personal favorite?
So my personal favorite is the one I was playing before, the one that just green-white value town that could just outgrind everybody with just a bunch of voices, coursers, more excavators, all that kind of stuff. In the current metagame with playing Storm a lot, I feel like this is just a better setup because I want to have 4 copies basically of Eidolon of Rhetoric in my main board.
Right, you've been playing this deck a lot online, and there the Storm has definitely kind of taken over.
Yeah, yep, and I've had more success with this online than the previous versions, but it's not my favorite.
All right, so what's the next step?
Well, the next step could be maybe I do need to add in blue to be able to play some counter spells and some retreat to Coral Helm. And I could kind of go away from like the Eldritch Evolutions and go back to having more value and stuff, but then just having some blue in the deck. I've never really wanted to do that. I've never really liked the blue cards. Basically a personal preference, not that they're bad or anything. Like it probably just makes the deck better, but I'm a little stubborn, that way. But
you don't get to play as many Ghost Quarters. You have to have blue mana in your deck.
Yeah. I mean, I'm playing 4 Ghost Quarters no matter what. I'll just add more mana, more lands. Like, we're not getting away from Ghost Quarter. I think that's the best card in Modern. A lot of people think that that's silly. Like Brad Nelson asked me, like, are you serious? Like, there's no, like, I'm testing right now. Are you sure you're actually saying that? Because that can't be correct. Yeah. And I was like, I think it is.
Lastly, any stock in the new Ghost Quarter S card that was spoiled from Ixalan?
Not in Modern.
Okay.
Not in Modern. You have to pay 2 mana. It's basically like you get to 2 mana and you get to Tectonic Edge them for just an extra mana, and then you both Ram and Growth, basically. And it's just worse than Ghost Quarter and Tectonic Edge. Now, if there is a monocolor deck or 0-color deck where for some reason you want to have 4 Ghost Quarters and 4 Tectonic Edges and you want more of that effect for some reason, sure, but you're not playing it over Ghost Quarter or Tech Edge in Modern. I like its home in Standard with all those new legendary lands. Yeah. I think it's necessary in Standard, but not for Modern.
Well, thanks for joining me here in the sideboard. For Todd Stevens, I'm Nick Miller. Stay tuned to StarCityGames.com all week long for the action here in Louisville.